This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Bruschi.
Joining us to discuss the friends of Lori Vallow Daybell and just kind of get some observations on what we've been seeing is Robin Drake, retired FBI special agent, chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. His website, peopleformula.com. Robin, I'm curious. We've seen a lot of almost, I would say, like micro testimony here in the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell. People on the stand just giving short little observations on the relationships and the happenings that they had with Lori Vallow Daybell. What's been your observations thus far?
Interestingly, part of my thoughts are, why are there no past friends?
Yeah.
So all the friends, so-called friends, are the ones that are current friends, and they have to be it's all about Lori. It's got to be adoration of Lori. And she sets herself high on this pedestal as the supreme goddess because she's been anointed by Chad. So all these friends are recent friends, and they try to manipulate LDS Mormonism to serve their needs and justify their actions in their criminal enterprise of taking people's money.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting how that all came about. And it is very interesting and it's telling that we're not hearing about, oh, we've been friends for 20, 30 years. It's all very recent. It makes you wonder, how many other waves of friends has Lori gone through where eventually they no longer have a use to her, or they see her for who she is, in which there's no relationship either way?
Well, 100%. The arc of her life is her. Mm-hmm. And she's extremely needy. Again, I'm not a clinician, so I can't say, and I don't know the results of any psychological testing she's taken, but edging up towards psychopathy is most likely there and prevalent, which means low empathy. And she wears people out. We've all been around people that are so self-centered and so look at me, look at me, look at me, that they just wear you out because there's no balance to the relationship. This is a one-sided relationship when you're in a relationship with Lori, and she just wears people out over time. And it's been the arc throughout her life. That's why this sect of her life right now is so compartmentalized to right now.
Mm-hmm. What have you made of the individuals and the amount of trust that they did put in her at one time for a period of time? Because her beliefs, when she expressed them to her friends, were always so grandiose or just utterly delusional. Not even, I get when you're talking about faith and things of that nature, there is a level of, and I'm not trying to be insulting to any religion, but magical thinking. Of things where you have to have faith to believe it because that's how religion works. But she always took it a step further. There was little nuggets of the base of the religion in there of LDS, and then it was like, we're going to take it 10 steps further down the road. Were these people that were also really seeking, or were they in a right type of state vulnerability-wise to fall in with someone like Lori and not end up being buddies with someone else in the LDS church? It's like, why Lori? And going with the extreme thinking that her and Chad were sharing.
You're right on all those counts. So first, let's start with the nugget aspect of it. And yeah, so people don't go from 0 to 100. Cults don't go from 0 to 100. Charismatic leaders don't take people from 0 to 100. They're nuggets that are laid along the way. They take a foundation that's already in place and they start edging people up towards the direction they want them to move. They target people that are vulnerable. And, I hate that word vulnerable too. They target people that are in pain is a better way to put it. People that are in pain because they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, they're wound collectors, they feel disenfranchised in some way, they don't feel like they're recognized. And so they'll target those people and shower them with what they need. They need attention, they need validation. And when you have charismatic people that are doing that, giving you the psychological feeling of safety that you've always been seeking, and they start dropping these nuggets to edge you towards their belief system based on a foundation that is already laid, that's why these things happen.
It's scary how quickly that can happen, where one could be living a fairly normal life, and yet they're walking around the grocery store next to everybody else going, oh, yeah, my friend, her son said he climbs up the wall and he's possessed by a demon. And oh, hey, look, there's a sale on Lunchables. It's just scary how one can operate in one aspect of reality and normal life, and yet have these beliefs over here and consider them possible and real.
Yeah, they blended their world together. There's no doubt. I still think there's there's most likely rational people underneath this false facade, but they've done so, between Chad and Lori, they've done so many heinous things at this point that their psyche can't come to grips without rationalizing their behavior according to this belief system they have. So that their journey back, if they can ever come back from that, is interesting. Matter of fact, it's really interesting because Chad was really the final impetus on Lori and her belief system that kind of brought her down this path. And it's kind of, we spoke about this way early on, weeks and weeks ago, about I wonder what she would be like without the influence of him. And when she's put into prison for the rest of her life, which is most likely, in my opinion, going to happen, it'll be really interesting if she has no contact, if she's ever able to come to reckoning with herself and build herself back out of what she did. And I've known other people that have done horrendous things, and when they finally had that aha moment of realizing the destruction and horribleness they caused in the world, they spend the rest of their lives atoning for it. Not all happen, and we'll see what happens here.
Do you think any of the friends that testified still kind of believe in this way of thinking that they had? Maybe they can identify from what we can see and say, Lori took it way too far, but maybe Lori's just the bad apple. But the belief, the principles of some of these thoughts are very real.
What a great question, because you're so right. When you're seeing people on the stand and listening to their testimony, you're like, wow, it's kind of, can we take this person's word for it? Because they sent it a little off too.
Yeah.
I still think they probably, so let's look at human behavior in general. Robert Greene's book, The Laws of Human Nature, is fantastic and really explaining this one of many great truisms of human beings, and that is we become what we consume. We're always seeking information that are going to validate our own self-opinions of ourselves, the thoughts and ideas we have. This is how news stations work, and it's how marketing works, and it's how we interact with the world around us. This is why we choose the shows we watch, the books we consume, and the information we listen to. And that was both the failing here of Chad and Lori, was they didn't have total control over the information that their friends and followers were having, which kind of diffused the message. But at the same time, those friends and followers were taking in that information from Chad and Lori, and it did have an effect, obviously. So how much that effect will last and how much will stay in there, it depends on how much they do self-talk with each other.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
with Tony Bruschi.
Robin Dreek, retired FBI Special Agent, Chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. Thank you so much for giving us your insight. Peopleformula.com is Robin's website, by the way. If you want to weigh in on anything that we're talking about right here, well, you can. There's a phone number for that. It's 888-5-KILLER, 888-554-5537. To weigh in and give your thoughts 24/7. We'd love to hear you. I'm Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.